Thank you very much for joining us today. I was hoping you could introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself to start us off.
Okay, my name's Paul Dendle. I'm CEO of FlyLolo.com. Fly Lolo is a company set up specifically for peak season, so we operate flights for the school holidays, for Christmas and July to September.
So tell us a little bit more about what you'd like to let our listeners know about today.
Okay, well, in terms of there's health issues in terms of the seasonal affective disorder, I'd like to talk about that and how people can mitigate the effects of that. And also in terms of my business, which is aviation, to try and advise and help your listeners to get the best deals for flights to specifically the sun destinations like the Canary Islands in the winter, Christmas, and also for other destinations in the summer months. I think it's the way for people to get the best value, and everyone's looking for a deal these days, is to go on to something like skyscanner.net, which gives the best overview of prices within the UK.
So tell our listeners a little bit more about seasonal affective disorder.
Seasonal affective disorder. I mean, we all know about the winter blues and having that off day when you're feeling down and it's the winter, it's cold, and you've got short days and dark skies. But I think for some people, it's more a genetic issue where they get affected much more, and it sometimes needs the intervention of a GP. But there are ways to mitigate that, and I think you can take vitamin D and other supplements, but that may help you. There's ways of doing that. But there's also using a sun lamp helps people because it will stimulate your body to produce what's needed. But also, I think a holiday is a good antidote to the winter blues.
And I suppose it's one of those things that people don't always necessarily straight away think that could be what they're suffering from, or those sort of solutions could help them.
Yeah, and I think everyone's thinking these days about well-being and mental health, and I think it's very much welcome that people are conscious of these issues these days. And this SAD is one of those conditions which only affects 1 in 15 people, but that's quite a sizable number for the UK. And I think there's ways that the way to navigate your way through that is that there's ways and means of doing that in terms of finding going out for a good walk on a winter's day when you can pick up as much sunshine as possible is one way to actually put you in a better place.
So it's not always going to a really sort of sunny location. Sometimes it's just being out and about and in the air.
Yeah, certainly. But I mean, you can get to in certain dates in the winter, you can get to Tenerife for as low as £50 return, and the cost of living down there is reasonable. You can buy vegetables very, very cheaply. You can find accommodation reasonably priced if you're not necessarily in the best hotels. And you can spend, a lot of pensioners used to go down there for 6 weeks and spend the winter months down there and get very, very good deals. And I would recommend anyone who's just retired and wants to take advantage of some of the deals to go there, because it's a great place.
I know you want to talk a little bit more about your business and what you do, so it'd be good to hear about that.
Well, I've been in aviation for about 40 years. I originally had a company called Avro, which I built up, and it was the pre-runner to the no-frills airlines in the 1980s, 1990s. I sold it in 95 to Monarch, the year that EasyJet started. And I remember EasyJet starting, and it was just a small operation from Luton to Glasgow. So I've been in and out of aviation and different travel companies, and so I know what really sells and what different routes are in demand. And we saw an opportunity a number of years ago to set up FlyLolo.com, which was just to not to go head-to-head with the no-frills airlines all year round, just to cherry-pick the market and find aviation that will be cheaper for the school holidays. So where you find the no-frills carriers tend to up the prices at Christmas to compensate and cross-subsidize the low season, we fly aviation that's cheaper and we think is as good or if not better quality than no-frills carriers.
So tell us a bit more about how that works.
Well, in terms of the Air Europa, who are one of the partners we're using for Christmas, they're the largest independent airline in Spain. They have 28 aircraft. They're rolling out Wi-Fi across their fleet, very good quality. And what they have is aircraft that are sitting around in Madrid that are idle, and so we've identified that. I've known Air Europa for 25 years, and we bring the aircraft in specifically to the UK, and then we fly them back and forth to the Canary Islands. So they're operating back-to-back all the Christmas period, and they've given us some exceptionally good prices, which then we can then pass on to the UK travelling public and compete directly with Ryanairs and the EasyJets of the world and undercut them by 40 or 50 pounds.
Was there anything else you'd like to cover or get over to our listeners?
I think the one thing I would always say to listeners, and it's important, is a lot of no-frills carriers are not actually covered by financial protection. And although the Ryanairs and the EasyJets of the world will not go bust, there are some smaller airlines that will go bust. And I think you have to be very, very careful about financial protection. And Lolo is covered by the Civil Aviation Authority's ATOL license, and all monies are protected. But there are a lot of smaller airlines, particularly foreign airlines, that maybe are not covered, and you need to think carefully about booking those. And you also need to maybe pay with a credit card, because that gives you financial protection as well.
So if our listeners would like to find out more information, how can they do that?
I would recommend, in terms of the condition, the NHS has a very, very good website, and I would go on there. In terms of an overview of what's available price-wise, I'd go on to skyscanner.net. We're on there, and you can get a good comparison of what's going on. But we've got our own website, flylolo.com, and I would recommend going on there and booking a flight.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to us here at Heart Radio Transmission today.